You're watching OneSoccer Direct. Andy Petrillo, Oliver Platt, and Jordan Wilson with you. Gentlemen, Jonathan David has arrived in Torino, Italy. Check out OneSoccer Instagram. Got the video. Fans greeting him at the airport. Fans greeting him when he arrives at the complex. He's going to have a medical because all signs are pointing towards just, officially signing on the dotted line here with Juventus. First, there were rumors Napoli. I'm not taking it personally. Let's now move on. Ollie, is this the biggest move a Canadian has ever made?
Yeah, I think it is. And obviously the comparable is Alphonso Davies going to Bayern Munich. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who will still choose that one, given the size of that club and the fact that it was kind of, a new frontier, I think, for Canadian soccer to see a player like that go to a club like Bayern Munich. Tajon Buchanan to Inter also deserves a mention, another giant club that a Canadian joins. I just think this one feels a bit different because I think Jonathan David is going to be one of the faces of that team from the very outset. Davies got there in terms of how he progressed, and it was an amazing rise, how rapidly that happened and how important he became to that team. But it's going to be like that from day one for Jonathan David. He's coming in as the biggest free agent on the market this summer after Trent Alexander-Arnold signed for Real Madrid. And this is a top club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, that is going to rely on him from the outset to produce, to score goals, to do all of the things that Jonathan David's has been doing for many years now. So there's going to be pressure on his shoulders straight from the off that I don't think any Canadian player has ever really felt before in terms of joining a new club and having that level of expectation and that level of scrutiny. And we'll see if he's ready for it after 5 fantastic years at Lille that have hopefully prepared him for this.
I love this move. I've been talking about this, and I'm excited for Jay David because I think it's a perfect marriage, and that's hard to find in football, especially nowadays, right? Like in terms of how accessible you can be and how many clubs you could go to. But then at the time, the record transfer fee in MLS for Fonzie to go to Bayern Munich back in 2019 had to be. It almost for me felt like the start of it all. Like after that, then obviously there were more moves from Canadians, and naturally they were progressing. Naturally they were playing better football. But that for me still has to be one of the biggest moves because Bayern Munich, the prestige in that club, the fact that they nearly win every season and they're always competing, and they're the talk of the town, not just in Europe, but obviously specifically in Germany. So I do agree with all these points in terms of you have to kind of climb the ladder. But Fonzie to Bayern Munich, I don't know if we're ever going to see that. The fact that he was so young, he was 18, 19 at the time when he left, it was huge. But when you look at the checklist, I've been saying this on the show, Andy and Ollie, is that if there are 7 things that a footballer is looking for when they want to make a move, Juve has all 7 or 10, whatever the number is for Jay David, they have it. So this harmony, this unity, the fact that he's going to go there and be a big dog, in my opinion, and this is a mega club. We as Canadians, we couldn't be happier. This is a big moment.
Yeah, because I think I agree with you that Alphonso Davies, it was big, and because it was one of the first that people were really kind of paying attention to, knowing that this prodigy was coming through in Major League Soccer, and then of course at a young age making that move to Bayern. I still think that's huge. But I think with David, what he has on his side here is that we've been watching this guy for a few years now. And he's been inching his way to the top of being a top striker in CONCACAF. We know this, right? And just what he's been able to even do in Liga. And it was like, where is he going to go? The anticipation alone the last few years. Yeah. I think the fact that he's finally landed somewhere has made this huge, because I will say this, at least, Ollie, where he's landed, it's not a disappointment. It's not like, oh, all these years, these last couple of years, we've been talking about where he's going to go. And then it ended up being like like he's going to Serie A, and he's going to, and we'll get to the present state of Juventus in just a moment, but he's going to like a club with such rich history. Like this is a big move. The move after all the years of anticipation didn't disappoint.
Yeah, and I think that was what we were waiting for was, is it going to be a club, whether it's in the Premier League, La Liga, wherever, where it's, in that kind of second bracket of clubs and not one of the big boys? And I think from everything Jonathan David said and what he was looking for from this next step, okay, as you said, we'll talk about Juventus in their current state, but it's still indisputably a top 10 club in the world for me. Like it's a massive club with a huge fan base all around the world that is, before their current period, they won 9 titles in a row in Italy. Like very few clubs in the world have any kind of chance of doing something like that. So to get that next step from Lille and to really feel like it's a step up to a club like Juventus, I think they've done a really good job of securing this move and to be honest, handling his whole kind of career progression over the last 7-8 years.
All right, well, let's talk about the current state of Juventus because, Napoli, the reigning champs, again, not going to take it personally. Eventually, I'll get over it that he didn't sign there, but he did sign with Juve. And things, they're not really good right now, Ollie. Dare I say a wee bit of a mess with Juventus. So is this a risk, though, still for David?
Yeah, this is the other side of it. There's definitely some risk there. This is a club that, like I just said, won 9 titles in a row, and now they've gone 5 years without. That hasn't been obviously acceptable in this kind of club. It's 6 years since they advanced past the round of 16 in the Champions League. They've had 4 coaches in the past 2 seasons. Even just over the past couple of weeks, you look at the matches they've played against Man City and Real Madrid, two undoubtedly top clubs in the world. Over the course of those 2 games, they're outshot 45-11. Like they're just not on that level right now. And they've had a lot of kind of misfires, to be honest, in the transfer market in terms of the signings they've made over the past few years. So that is undoubtedly the risky side of it. But I just don't know that you ever go to a club like this when you're making that step up and you're not necessarily proven at this kind of club in the past without some kind of risk being inherent in it, right? I think it's difficult to avoid. So what gives you confidence with Jonathan David is just some of the characteristics that he's going to bring to this club. He's incredibly consistent. He scored 25 goals 3 seasons in a row. He's always available. He plays 40 games every year without fail and very rarely gets injured. So that's going to help him, I think. And also, I, again, just kind of touched on his career progression. He's 25 and I think he's ready for this. Like he's not a kid who is making this step up too soon. He's been at Lille for 5 seasons. He was at Ghent for 2 seasons before that. I think they've taken it very slow and steady when it would have been easy maybe to jump 2 or 3 years ago out of Ligue 1 and out of Lille to a different club. And that I hope has prepared him well for this next step. Yeah.
I look at Juventus, 36 Serie A titles, more than any other club. And I know, Ollie, it seems like history as opposed to recent success. But I just think when you look at mega clubs, and if someone had to pick a few names of every European club, Juve would be at the top. If not 1, then 2. Like you have to just give them their flowers in terms of history and prestige in a club, and that matters. Like going into something where there's expectation for you when you step into Torino. Everyone's going to know your name. There's going to be the jerseys outside of the stadium on the street. Like that all matters to a club, to a brand. I look at them also, they're regularly in the Champions League, which has been a priority for Jay David. We don't know him or talk to him personally, but that obviously has to be the next evolution of his game, is doing well and consistently being in the Champions League and succeeding. I look at them with the top tier facility that they have. But the biggest thing is being a global brand. In 2025, it's not just, hey, I'm going to be a big fish in a little pond. Sometimes you want to be a big fish in the biggest pond. And this is what Juve is. It's just being that global brand. Is if he pops into Switzerland or another club or another country in Europe, like he's going to be recognized, 1, because he's Jay David, but 2, because he could be the bigger dog for Juve. So I love all these things. I do agree with you in terms of the struggles in past years, Ollie, with Juve and how they need to maybe get back on track. And there's a lot of giants we've seen. Now Wheels is on vacation, so we could talk about Man United.
It's not that bad.
Their fall from grace. Shout out to you, Wheels. But yes, rich history is so important to how you speak about a club, because players will always want to go there and try to achieve.
It just hasn't been the same since Gigi Buffon left, right?
It is. That's your boy.
Tough to replace.
We couldn't go a whole episode without mentioning Andy's GOAT.
I'm just saying.
Bonucci.
A lot of people gone there. But here's the thing. So now you got Jonathan David, you have Weston McKennie. So maybe the 2 of them are going to do a little recon on each other next time the USA and Canada face each other. Yeah. There's and here, that was a big deal. When Americans sign with Juve, a big deal, which is why this is a big deal for a Canadian doing so as well. Final question on this. Do you think this move further cements David as the face of Canadian soccer, Ollie? Because we had this conversation even heading into the Gold Cup. Granted, we all know Davies is injured. But Jonathan David being the leading goal scorer on the men's side, just, making this move, a lot of people talking about him. I mean, can we officially say that he's the face of Canadian soccer at the moment?
I think he might be, and I think certainly the opportunity is there for him to further kind of establish himself in that way. Like, Davies is always going to be there, right? As this huge name. It's a little bit unfair to even have this conversation while he's injured and not on the field and not able to kind of have his own say. But I think very clearly under Jesse Marsch, the national team has been built around Jonathan Davids. He's the key player in this team now. He's always going to have, I think, a bit more opportunity to be that face of the team, being a striker or an attacking player. Than Davies. Maybe Davies, if he gets pushed forward and doesn't play left back, that could change that a little bit. I also just think, again, to go back to what we've been talking about with Juve, like Juventus, they've got some work to do to get back there. But when I was growing up and like watching English teams playing in Europe, they're one of the clubs that you're a little bit scared of as a kid, right? Like Real Madrid's, Juventus, Bayern is another one of those where they just come with that kind of aura. And if you're a key player, if you're playing well and starring at a club like this, I think it does massive things for your career. So the potential is there for sure.
I just have to tell a quick story, Trills. You'll probably appreciate this. I got 2001 FIFA on my computer as a kid, but I only got the demo because my parents wouldn't get me the real one. So there were only two teams that played each other. It was Juve and AC Milan every single time. So you're playing like ASD or shooting and all. Paulo Nedved, Edgar Davids, like
Del Piero, Zidane.
Pierre, we can go down the list, and all these kids watching at home that don't even know these guys. YouTube, use the internet for something positive. The Juve, man. When you said like going back, Ollie, it just brought me back to the days of such a pure time in Italian football and such a league that everyone tunes in to watch. But I think with the two, getting back on track, it will always be like talent versus influence. I think that's what it is right now. Tell me Alphonso Davies, like the best player that Canada has ever produced. Like he's literally, if you had to build a left back, he is him. Like it's so, or a left winger or a left wing back, whatever you want to call him. He has all the attributes to be one of the top or the best in the world. But I just think influence matters. How consistent you are, how many times you show up, how many times you change games. And that's Jay David. So look, we said before it's a bit too early based on the D-Rose and the Tiba Hutchinsons and the players before that have just done such a great job for this national team. But in 10 years' time, I think Jay David might be standing there by himself.
The other thing is just the personality. Like Jonathan David is quite like a Tiba in some ways. Like he's quiet, he's humble, he just gets on with it, and like
a superstar everywhere else. And it comes to Canada, and it's just
not saying Davies isn't some of those things as well, but David has just like embodied it hugely through his whole career.
Yeah. David has just been absolutely awesome. That's for sure. And I think that's why he's endeared himself to media fans and now Juventus fans alike. And the history there is very rich. So right now, Jonathan David in Italy, currently undergoing medicals with Juventus, and the Serie A season kicks off on August 23rd.